Hi, Alan Schimmel, DevOps.com's DevOps TV here in Duz, San Francisco. I'm here with Mik Kersten, CEO of Tasktop.
Hi, Alan.
Hey, Mik, it's good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
You know what? We run in parallel circles from one conference to the next, Mik, and we were just talking off camera. We'll see each other next week at CA World. But here at Duz this week, I know Tasktop is preparing to make an announcement regarding maybe a new release.
Yep, yeah, we are. So every quarter, we not only do we go to all these shows where there's all the vendors that are announcing their new releases, but we have to make sure all of these things work together. Because what we've created, our entire focus, is to allow companies to make this value stream that's composed of all the best-of-breed tools.
Right.
You know, between Agile, DevOps, but also out to the other end where you've got security on one side, project portfolio management on the other. So yeah, we're announcing some of the highlights from the upcoming release are the fact that we've got some of the newest Agile tracking tools out there covered, like Pivotal Tracker, for example. So the Agile tools themselves have become so niched right now that some people just want that great taskboard experience of that tool, even while they might still be using Jira, or they might still be using IBM tools and so on.
Sure.
And then, of course, a key thing for us is always track all the big movements and stay ahead of all the big movements, and changes, bigger changes in things like testing. So HPE has released ALM Octane, which is really their modern approach to testing. And of course, we've now released support for integrating Octane with any of the other 45 Agile, DevOps, and project tracking tools that we support. Yep. So yeah, those are some of the highlights in addition to everything that we've added over time to the Tasktop Gateway tool, which really allows DevOps engineers to plug any of their automation tools in to the entire tool chain. Because of course, hand coding any of those kinds of integrations, as every vendor is releasing not only new tools, but new versions of those tools, innovating, the innovations at a pretty fast pace if you look at the exhibit floor here. So we help customers stay ahead of that, yeah.
So Mik, you know what I realized sitting here listening to you? I know about Tasktop way before I started DevOps.com. I think I was probably writing at Network World, or maybe even before that. I was
that's right.
It's still secure even. But maybe people in our audience don't really understand Tasktop and what it is you guys do. Just at a higher level, give our audience background. What is Tasktop?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the old way that we all looked at software delivery was to buy an end-to-end platform, and I'm talking about software delivery in the large, where you've got hundreds of thousands of developers, many applications, and so on. But just to buy a platform for managing software delivery. So you kind of go end-to-end with, say, the rational unified process and ClearQuest and ClearCase, right? To go back even to the before your days of Network World, and all of that changed with the Agile movement and then the DevOps movements, where things became centered enough around developer productivity and the productivity of the handoff between development operations, as more and more companies realize the benefits of continuous delivery, of getting code out there faster. So what happened is that in that process, the entire tool chain became disaggregated. And at every step of, all the way from the idea and funding parts of building software, to planning it, to breaking it down into, wireframes and so on, to developing it, testing it, deploying it, supporting it, we saw all these best-of-breed tools proliferate. And so what that means to you and I is that we have to go to a lot of conferences because there are a lot of tools. And what it means to, to the exhibit hall here is that there's a lot of vendors and they're doing a lot of cool stuff. But what it means to the customer is that you look at your tool chain and it's a complete mess because you've got all of these best-of-breed tools which were supposed to work with each other, but they didn't quite work with each other. And so what we realized is, we needed to provide a new kind of infrastructure where you could take any best-of-breed tool, plug it into this hub, this integration hub, and then just have people collaborate in information flow. So if someone filed a defect in one tool, let's say you're using HPE's new Octane offering, it doesn't matter if you're using Microsoft Team Foundation Server, Visual Studio Services under the hood, or you're using Rally, or you're using CA Agile Central as well here next week, or you're using Jira or anything else. All of that information flows across these tools, even if you're using different tools. And you've got the thing that we're all after in the end, which is this connected value stream. So not a focus on your DevOps automation piece, not a focus on your new Agile tool. Companies are past those now. There's lots of tools and there's great stuff to choose from. But really we changed the conversation to focus on the end-to-end value stream to make sure that people can, organizations can deliver software faster, that you've got happy and engaged end users because they're living in the tool they want, but you've got visibility across the whole thing. And that you're not optimizing just for your agile transformation, but really for delivering value to the market. So Tasktop integrates and synchronizes and gives you visibility into all these tools.
And you mentioned before, I think the number was about 45.
45 as of this release, yeah. We support 45 different tools, which sounds kind of, and by the way, we test 350 versions of those tools. Because again, there's legacy versions of the tools. Some people are still on old versions of HPLM or Quality Center and so on, right? Some people are on 2 Jira versions back, and because Jira's been deployed so broadly on premise in the enterprise. So yeah, so we make sure all of that works. We're really just the glue that connects this DevOps fabric.
So this, to me, brings up the whole thing around APIs.
Mm-hmm.
And there's got to be a better way. I mean, just from your point of view of 45 integrations, if we can call it that, 300 some odd versions within those 45. That's crazy when you really think about it, right? What the amount of work involved. Is there a way of working with APIs where, if you put out the API that they plug into, does it make your life easier? But, then you're working, and some tool vendors are arrogant, right? They're like, we're not going to work on your API. We'll give you our API. And is that what kind of drives the dynamic there?
It is. So we thought, okay, our lives, just as Tasktop, would be so much easier if people just standardize on one API, right? That's what glued together the world of email with those IMAP and POP APIs.
Sure.
And then, this custom vendor thing with Exchange, but it still worked. People still could implement Exchange and so on. So we thought, and actually early days with IBM, okay, let's come up with a common API. We called it OSLC, and let's have people implement it. But it hasn't worked in that sense, because there's the adoption of it's been limited, because every vendor, now take it from a vendor's point of view, they're putting all the resources to innovating the way you work within their tool, exposing that over their APIs and saying, okay, everybody implement our APIs. We're open, we integrate, use our APIs. So what's happened is we know some SaaS tools that have 40 versions of their REST API, right? And they're all actually up and running, and different ones have different bugs and so on. On-prem tools, there's all these different APIs, and I think we're many years away from the point where the tools have stabilized enough, and the data models have stabilized enough, and the workflow models have stabilized enough that they'll actually be common APIs. These companies are innovating too much and changing too much, and no one wants to implement someone else's API. So we've realized that for the customer, who's now, the customer problem is you're either integrating 5 different tools APIs, and those are a moving target, so your costs just get out of control, and what happens is the Agile and DevOps transformations fail, because nothing works together. It was supposed to, it doesn't, the API works too hard. Using API mapping tools doesn't really help you that much, because really the hard part is talking to the domain model of the tool, that kind of hierarchy of user stories and comments and activity streams, those kinds of things. So we've realized the only way to succeed with Agile and DevOps at scale is to deploy this integration infrastructure technology where we can plug things in, where we take care of this huge mismatch of APIs and all the quality problems they have and issues and shortcomings. So we've created this basically API, this test factory, where we test every vendor's more APIs, potentially more than they do, because someone has to do it. So
absolutely. And so Mik, to me, when people ask me about Tasktop, that's what, I tell them it's kind of the hidden glue. That when you might look at configuration management or continuous delivery or APM or any of the different DevOps tool areas. But it's really a tool like Tasktop that allows a lot of these tools, that allows not the tools, but allows the end users to really have a horizontal view across all of these disparate tools they're using. So it's an important, that's the glue that binds.
That's exactly
and it's an important piece of it. And I think Tasktop gets its due for it, for people who are in the know. But I bet you there's a lot of people out in our audience who aren't, and maybe this will teach them about it.
Yeah. I like you say, it's the hidden glue, and it happens to be the glue that's in the largest successful transformations out there. So
absolutely.
Yeah, we're very happy to be able to do that for the
cool.
most largest organizations.
So Mik, we'll wrap up then. And listen, I hope you enjoy the rest of DevOps Enterprise Summit. Always a pleasure seeing you. I'll see you next week.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks, Alan.
Mik Kersten, CEO of Tasktop. This is Alan Schimmel for DevOps.com's DevOps TV. Here it does San Francisco.